Hey guys, so this is not Kingdom of Ash, but I've decided to make a late month pivot. As always, welcome back to my channel. I review books, music, and movies, but I haven't reviewed a movie yet. I was saying last month that I'm going to review and read Kingdom of Ash, but it's February. This is the shortest month of the year, and I was so busy at the beginning of the year. Long story short, I decided to pick three books that are a little bit shorter. I've finished two of them as of filming this video, and it is currently the 23rd. So I should have the final book done before the end of the month, but I will not have all three videos out before the end of the month, I don't think. So that's just my update. Now, excuse me as I try not to botch the pronunciation of this author's name, but What I'd Rather Not Think About by Yente Postuma is an amazing book, in my opinion, and I read it as the first book of this month. It's very short. It's kind of like mini vignettes and spoken in tiny passages rather than a whole story, really. Like, it's kind of weird. Postuma is a Dutch author, and this is her second book, and it was very well received, and it's probably the most popular book out of all of her books. And it was translated by Sarah Timmer Harvey. This book is told from the perspective of a sister in the set of twins that is coping with the loss of her brother who took his own life. She mentions all these different stories about their childhood, the moments leading up to his death, even afterwards, like how she was coping with it and how she was dealing with it with her husband and stuff. Lots of people that read this book said that they had an easier time digesting the subject matter, even if they usually are a bit squeamish around that kind of stuff. And I do agree that it is easier to digest, even though I can usually handle stuff like that. Okay, enough about talking about what the book is about. I'm going to go over what I liked. I forgot to bring my copy with me, so if you want to find it at a bookstore, this is what it looks like. You can find it online or at a bookstore. One thing about this book for me is that I have a lot of personal bias towards liking the book. Like, I've had a lot of mental health struggles in the past. I've known a ton of people who have and do struggle with stuff presented in the book. And I bought this book at a time in my life where I was struggling, and I started reading it, and it helped me out. And then I stopped reading it, came back to it after a year. One thing that I loved about this book is that it really captures the essence of a real life story. I've seen reviews or a review or two that said that they thought it was a real story until the last third or so. And I didn't think it was a real story, but I do agree that it feels very realistic. So many of the conversations and situations and thought processes that characters have in this book just made sense to me. This book is very short. It has like 200 or so pages, and a lot of the pages like aren't even half a page long because all of the little sections of text are so little. But in the little amount of time it has, it really captured my mind, and it made me think about how a family member would feel if I took my own life, or how I would feel if a family member took their own life. And it showed perfectly like a set of dominoes that leads to someone taking their own life. And there's even a point where the brother thinks that he's better, and everyone thinks that they're getting their life on track, and then he ends his own life. There are so many lines that you just remember from this book that you just keep with you. The stories in this book bounce around so much. There's childhood stories, there's stories of adulthood, there's stories after his death, there's stories of her in therapy and with her husband talking about what they're going to do. It's a very interesting way on reflecting back on somebody else's life, and it being told from a twin who was with him until the end pretty much is a very neat way of doing that, and a very impactful way. It's very well done to me, and a lot of reviews just seem to miss the mark. I'll talk about that in a second. This book nails the feeling of feeling bleak and empty. It nails the feeling of trying to help someone that you know is going downward and downward into a spiral. It nails the feeling of being sad and knowing that you're going to be sad for a long, long time and not knowing how you'll ever be happy again. The thing that I like about this book is that it hits everything that it needs to hit, or wants to hit, I guess. But then there are some things that did bring it down a little bit. This is where we get into the negative review section of the book, where people say what they did and didn't like, and I say whether or not I agree, and I elaborate on stuff. First of all, one of the major criticisms that I saw about this book was that there are a lot of passages about the Holocaust and experiments done on identical twins during the Holocaust. And there's even a line in the book that mentions that the main character is not Jewish and is not an identical twin, they're fraternal twins. And so why do they care so much? And that was something that was said in a lot of reviews. Now, I agree and disagree. I do think that there are a lot of passages in this when there doesn't really need to be. I feel like a lot of the other emotions of this book could have been hit a lot better had there been more room instead of these passages. But I also do think that someone being hyperfixated on a tragedy, even if they don't have anything to do with it, is very realistic and is indicative of real life. You know, a lot of people in elementary school are hyperfixated on the war. People are focused on the Holocaust. They do it for every research project, everything. When I was in middle school, was obsessed with Alzheimer's disease, even though I've never had a family member who's had it. People get fixated on sad things and tragedies, even if it has nothing to do with them. And people were saying that this was a method of shock factor, but I disagree. I think that this was just a method of realism and showing the difference between this brother and sister in this pairing. One other complaint that I saw is that this book wasn't memorable. And again, I agree and disagree. I do think that this book overall is very memorable, at least for me, someone who has definitely resonated with a lot of themes in the book. But there are a lot of pages that definitely just feel like they don't matter, even if they do help the overarching story. And so I do agree with that at least a little bit. But overall, I just think that all of the emotions, the sad ones, the happy ones, the rare ones that people don't usually talk about, are hit perfectly in this book. And even the stuff that kind of drones on for a bit too long, like the passage about the Holocaust, it does seem like it's done for shock factor. But I think overall, it's an amazing book. On a scale from 1 to 10, where 1 is you shouldn't even go to bookstores anymore for the possibility that you might even see this book on the shelf, and 10 is you need to drop everything you're doing and buy the 10 copies of this book, I think that this is about an 8. I think that you should get this book and read it. It takes a day or two, depending on how fast you read. If all of Postuma's books weren't in Dutch, I would probably read a lot more. But for now, I'm just going to give this one a 4.5 stars out of 5, rounded up to 5 on Goodreads. I feel like I spent so much time in this video gushing about what I loved about this book, and yet I rated it 4.5, and I rated Open Water 5 stars. I do like Open Water better than this book. I think you should drop everything and read Open Water 10 times over, and I do think that this is more of an 8 on that scale. Okay, little ending bit here. Sorry that this isn't Kingdom of Ash. I don't know how many of you guys were even looking forward to Kingdom of Ash. I will read Kingdom of Ash next month. Neither of the next 2 books will be Kingdom of Ash, and I do apologize. My next book, though, which I am currently done reading and will make a video on, is Northwoods by Daniel Mason. I'm excited to talk about that one, and I really hope that you guys enjoy that one. For now, thank you so much for watching this video. Let me know if there's anything I can improve on for these reviews. Let me know if there's any music or movies that you want me to review next, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Keep reading.